Hello, all my Skull brothers and sisters. Vikings are 8-2. We're going into week 11. We've got some stuff to talk about, but this is the Undroppables Uncovered Vikings podcast. I am the FF RabbitDad, your host. Just call me RabbitDad. Find me on Twitter, FF RabbitDad. I'm on Reddit, FF RabbitDad. That's all it is for now. Don't worry about that. I'll expand maybe in the future. Anywho, first thing I want to get to, other than saying the Vikings are 8-2, yeah. Congratulations and good luck, Jared Allen, a finalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame this year, and their new senior category. 3 former Vikings are in that category, who could also be inducted. Chuck Foreman, former running back. Many of you may not remember him. That was a while ago. Purple People Eaters days, the 70s, 80s. Roger Craig just had a little stint with the Vikings after playing a bunch of years with the Niners as well. And Jim Marshall, the only, the fourth guy of that Purple People Eaters defensive line who's not yet in the Hall of Fame. Maybe he will be now, soon. I don't know. But yeah, those last 3 guys, it's the senior class of whatever they call it, I forget. It's basically looking back on former players who hadn't made the Football Hall of Fame yet. And Foreman, Craig, and Marshall on that list. And of course, Jared Allen. I think it's his year. I think it's Allen's year. So good luck to them. All right, let's just go into the recap now from last week's game. Again, Vikings came up victorious again for the 3rd week in a row. They won 23-13 over the Tennessee Titans. A huge part of the game was the fact that the referees were on the other side of the ball for a change. No, I'm not going to get there. But let's just say, yes, there were, 13 or 14 penalties against the Titans and 3 against the Vikings. And at least a couple of those penalties were absolute horse crap. That hit in the end zone where he took the helmet right to the chest and he went back, that should not have been a penalty. That one's the one that sticks out. That one should have resulted in a turnover on downs. It was a huge swing in the game. It's unfortunate these kind of things happen. I totally understand the coach flying off the handle on the sideline because I would have too. But nonetheless, Vikings came on top. Another big part of that game was they held Titans to 33 rushing yards on 19 carries. You don't have to be a math wizard to know that's less than 2 yards a carry. So exceptional job there. Time possession, 32 minutes, 27 minutes for the Titans. 32 minutes for the Vikes, 27 for the Titans. It was about even there, so not like the week before where it was just one-sided on the possession clock. Defense, it's still Blitz City every week. They're getting in there on it seems like every play somebody's getting close to hitting the quarterback or bringing down the ball carrying the backfield. 10 tackles for losses last week. 9 quarterback hits. 5 sacks. And the 1 interception at the end of the game, which was, you know what? Throw it up there. You got to try and do something. But, yeah. 9 quarterback hits and 5 sacks. It was brutal out there for Mr. Levis. Welcome to the NFL in your sophomore season. But, yeah, he's getting better. Anywho, defensive standouts of the week. Byron Murphy, he's just grown exponentially over the last few weeks. At the beginning of the year, he was an issue when it came to coverage. He was giving up, everything, playing from the slot. Now, he's playing more on the outside. He's shutting guys down. He's not letting them get open. Just covering them up, preventing the pass from even going that direction, which is what we want to see. He also get in the backfield and make a tackle behind the line of scrimmage, too. Andrew Van Ginkel. Who doesn't love Gink? I mean, 8 tackles, 2 sacks, everywhere on the field. Just doing everything. Swatting passes. He gets behind the line. He's just so freaking good. And then Blake Cashman. Not a huge day on the stat sheet. He did have a sack. But I did see some stats come out that Paul Charchian put out on Twitter with I don't have all the numbers in front of me. I jotted a few of them down. So with Ginkel on the team, in the game, playing, active, whatever, the Vikings are allowing 14 and a half rushing yards or rushing attempts per game, fewest in the league. Without him, they were like 19th in the league. Cashman in 49.7 rushing yards per game, first in the league, 18th in the league without him. And then the rushing touchdowns per game, 0.14, second in the league as opposed to 15th in the league. And it was just like it was 0.8 something, I think. It's either 0.6, 0.8, what's called 0.7, somewhere around there. But just Cashman on the field is making huge difference. Whether he's making a play or he's, not making a play or he's supporting, whatever. Dude needs to be on the field. Somebody needs to get him some adamantium armor to wear so he can't get hurt. Patrick Jones again, 2 sacks, makes 7 on the year for him. He hit the quarterback 5 times. He was busting in there and doing work. Love that guy. He is so fiery, just every single time. He's making plays, getting behind the line of scrimmage. Love that. Respect the hell out of it, too. All right, offensive side of the ball. We saw Dalton Reisner make it for his first start of the season, going in for Ed Ingram. So now it's Robinson and Brian O'Neill on the ends, Brandell and Reisner are the tackles, Bradbury at the center. They only gave up 2 sacks. That's good. Keep it down to that 2 or less every week. We shouldn't be having any problems. Sammy will stay nice and healthy, and we'll make a run into the playoffs. Speaking of Sam Darnold, 20 completions on 32 attempts for 246 yards and 2 scores. The fumble credited to him because it was that early pitch that went to Aaron Jones that he didn't catch. So I put that on Aaron Jones. It's fine. Statistically, it goes on Darnold because the rule is the last person who had possession of it is charged with the fumble. So not Sammy's fault. Not Sammy's fault. Sammy's doing Sammy things. Just having a solid 246 and 2 line. I'm happy with it. He threw for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns every week. The Vikings would be unstoppable. I think I've said that about a half a dozen times on these shows. Running the ball, the Vikings not so great, as we kind of figured they would have some struggles. Aaron Jones, 15 carries for 39 yards. Akers, 10 carries for 25 yards. Akers did also score a receiving touchdown on one of his 2 receptions. So I missed on the anytime touchdown because I said Jones, and it went to Akers. But, Jones is still not quite 100%. Apparently that rib injury is still causing him a little discomfort. It's fine. Akers is going to continue to spell him. They were, close to 15 carries to 10 carries or 16 touches to 12 touches. It's pretty much a 1A or it's an AB. Not quite really AB. It is still a first and a second, but they're really, really close. It's not a problem at all that they're splitting, that they're doing like a 40-60 split on these carries, 60, 30, 70, 40, you know what I'm saying, 45, 55, whatever it is. They're going to continue to use Akers and to keep Jones fresh, to keep him from getting hurt. And likewise, Jones plays so Akers doesn't get hurt or get worn down. And then there's always Chandler in there to spell them once in a while, just take a carry or just to look like he's going to get the ball. Just be a decoy. It's fine. Do your job. We appreciate you. We appreciate you, Ty Chandler. All right. Wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, 8 targets, 6 catches, 81 yards. He did have that 132-yard reception or 31-yard reception. Had he not had that, he would have been held to 5 catches for 50 yards. That Tennessee defense is legit. Addison only caught 3 of 8 passes. And then Sherfield and Powell each caught a pass. There was a couple more in there. I think Munt had one. Naylor, that pass was right in the breadbasket. That should have been a catch. That should have been a touchdown in the end zone. And he just, Naylor just, got happy feet or happy hands, whatever. It's unfortunate, but got to catch those balls. Everybody's got to catch those balls. But I will rewind a sec back to Addison. 3 catches on 8 targets, 61 yards at a score. The 8 targets, that's nice. The 3 receptions, again, product of the tough defense that they just played against. I know most people, like people in the fantasy community are like, well, Tennessee's not really that great of a defense, but clearly they are. The other downfall is that other teams don't pass against them a lot, as much as most other teams, but still. Part of that is because they trail, and part of that is because they just have good defenders back there. And we saw it on display. Like I said, limiting Jefferson and Addison to a combined 9 catches. So, tight ends. Hawkinson, 2 catches on 3 targets, 13 yards. That's fine. He's been, the last 2 weeks, they kept him in for just under, I think, 50% of the snaps on offense. They're letting him reacclimate to the professional game, to the speed. He hasn't played before last week. A couple weeks ago, he hadn't played in almost a year. So it's just a matter of him getting more comfortable, not rushing him back, because you don't want to mess up those knee injuries like that. If you bring him back too soon and they screw it up again, it gets worse and other bad things happen. Josh Oliver again, like he's been the last couple of weeks. 3 catches on 3 targets for 34 yards. Unfortunately, we're not going to have him this week. Injuries popped up. Super, super sucks. But Johnny Munt and Nick Muse is apparently coming back. So we've got plenty of guys at tight end there. But I think Hawkinson's target share will go up this week. Partially because Oliver, partially because he's got to be at least close to, if not back to 100%. I don't think we're worried about the knee anymore at this point. So I would say look for Hawkinson to have a nice performance this week. All right. Special teams. John Parker Promo made his 1 field goal, made 2 or 3 PATs. All right. Keep it up, Promo. Just, shake that one off. Shake that one off. We got faith in you. Promo for the win. All right. Ryan Wright, 5 punts. Had a 66-yarder punt in there. Just a boomer. And 222 total punt yards. But that's 66 yards. And he's still so good. It's like every time he punts the ball, if it's within range, that ball is guaranteed to be inside the 20. Whether it goes out of bounds at like the 10 or it just bounces, or the coverage guy gets back there and catches it, like this last week. And I forget off the top of my head which player that was. But there was one of the punts where he got there and he caught the ball and just rolled down and didn't touch the end zone line, because if he had, it would have been a touchback. So, it bugs me. I forgot which player that was. But I love seeing those special teams plays. So that's, Vikings, they were solid last week. It would have looked a lot better without that 98-yard touchdown, but them's the breaks. That's what happens. All right. Let's go on to next week, or this week. The Bears are hosting the Vikings for the 126th meeting between the two teams. That's right, 126 times this will be. Minnesota won 5 of the last 6 games. And Minnesota won each of the last 4 games in Chicago, like tomorrow's game is going to be. So, I'm not saying, I'm just saying. But Chicago games are weird. We know this over the past. Sometimes they beat teams at home that they shouldn't beat. And, but I'm not worried. Chicago last week lost another nail biter, another last second 19-20 against Green Bay. That kick up tipped, blocked at the end of the game. Chicago is literally 2 plays away from being 6-4 and tied with the Packers for 3rd place in the division. It's absurd, the bad luck they've had a couple times in the last few weeks. But it's also, things happen. You just got to come back from it. And I understand. I've seen the videos, like Bears fans. Yeah, you've had some stuff to deal with this year. Take it from a Vikings fan. All of us Vikings fans, we know the pain. We've had plenty of other things. We've dealt with this kind of stuff before too. That's the one solace I'm going to give you because Vikings are going to win this week. Let's see, what else we got? Okay, so last week the Bears managed one sack. They're typically a little bit better than that. Green Bay's offensive line is okay. I'm not too worried about the Vikings. That's why I think they'll be able to keep Darnold upright for the majority of the game. Let's just start talking about the players on the offensive side of the ball for the Bears. They've got rookie Caleb Williams, who had one of his better games of the season last week. 231 passing yards, 31 attempts, 23 completions. Ran for 70 yards on 9 carries. That's going to get nullified by the Vikings this week. The Vikings are allowing 6 rushing yards to quarterbacks per game. That is the lowest in the league. So Caleb Williams is going to have to try and get things done through the air. He's got some of the weapons to do it. And he's got the raw talent to, and the potential in the future, yes. But I think he's come along slower than Bears fans in particular, and lots of people have wanted him, have thought he would. A lot of people thought he would probably be a runaway for the rookie of the year. Generational quarterback is the term that gets thrown around like every 3 or 4 years. I mean, we just had a generational quarterback in Trevor Lawrence before we had a generational quarterback in somebody else, and then Andrew Luck, and then somebody else, and then every 3 or 4 years there's another generational quarterback that comes into the league. So, not saying Williams isn't that. Not saying Caleb Williams isn't. I'm just saying temper those expectations on those rookies. They don't really usually do really well. Sure, you got McDaniels and Nix who are doing really well over there in Washington and Denver. Excuse me. But yeah, he's going to have some problems running the ball. He's going to have some problems passing the ball. Another person who's going to have problems running the ball, DeAndre Swift, starting running back for the Bears. He had a nice 14 carries, 71 yards, and a touchdown last week against the Packers. We'll get into this a little bit more later, but it's not looking good. The Vikings are one of the top defenses in the league at stopping the run. And then they've also got Roschon Johnson, who's been eating more and more into the payload, the workload for the Bears in the backfield. He had 10 carries for 33 yards and a score. He is more of a bowling ball guy. He's a bigger, stronger back. He's better at those short yardage things. And DeAndre Swift, he's streaky. I think it was last year. Yeah, last year, Swift against the Vikings, he had that huge breakout day with like 180 yards rushing or something. Fluke game. It's one of those things that happens once in a while. And the defense and that was like week 2 or 3 last year. It's a totally different team than it is now. So not worried about that. Passing or receiving options for the Bears, they've got DJ Moore, probably their biggest threat. He was 7 of 7 for 62 yards last week. Roma Dunze, 10 targets, 6 catches, 65 yards last week. He's just waiting to blow up and burst onto the scene. It's just a matter of when he and Caleb Williams both sync up again, because that's the future for the Bears, is a Dunze and Caleb Williams. Be like AJ Green and Andy Dalton back in the day for the Bengals, or now Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow for the Bengals. I don't know why they went to Bengals on both, but two young guys who came up and right next to each other, or at the same year, or back-to-back years in the draft. Long time to play together. It's but in the meantime, there's still also Keenan Allen, who has significantly declined this year as opposed to his past career. I think he hit his 4 catches for 41 yards. I think the 41 yards is a season high for him this year. It's not enough of a pie and too many people eating from it to get anything substantial, crazy. Like Keenan Allen is still a solid wide receiver, but his time it's in the twilight of his career. If anybody, some of you might have remembered last year when Keenan Allen with the Chargers played against the Vikings. That was when he had his career best 20 targets, 18 receptions, 215 yards, and even threw a 49-yard touchdown pass. He just made us look stupid that day. That's not happening. And then there's Cole Kmet, 3 catches for their 42 yards over there. A solid tight end, something that the Vikings have to watch for. Defensive-wise, like I said, they've only had 1 sack last week. They only got to the quarterback twice. You know, Sammy's mobile. He can get out of there if he needs to. They did have also an interception last week. The Bears defense, they are allowed across the season, over the season so far, the fewest completions per game at 18 and the 6th fewest passing yards at 2,137. The 6th most yards per reception at 11.6, which is, and then the 7th fewest touchdowns. So the passing game it's a lot of little ones and it's a lot of this big stuff. It's going to be tough. It might be tough for like they've got. We'll get into. We'll just Jalen Johnson, one of the premier pass defenders in the league. He's allowed 1.5 receptions per game in his coverage this season. So if he spends a lot of time on Jefferson, I mean, that could be tough for Justin, or it could be opening things up for Hawkinson or Addison or somebody else. The Bears have also, against the run, have allowed 11 touchdowns and are allowing 4.79 yards per carry, which is the 5th most in the league. So the ground game is where the Vikings are going to need to go to. They're going to need to focus on that. It'll open up the pass. There'll be opportunities for all of them, but I think we got significant games for Akers and Jones in the backfield. Another player I want to talk about for the Bears defense, Montez Sweat, 3.5 sacks this year. He's had 7 or more sacks in 4 of his 5 seasons in the pros, with the 1/5 season being that he only played 10 games. Every other season he's played at least 15, 16. We'll just say 15. Still impressive either way. He's a solid force when it comes to pressuring the quarterback, clogging up the run. He's an elite edge rusher, elite guy at the front in the trench. And then there's Kevin Byard, 2-time first-team All-Pro. He has had over 108 tackles in each of the last 2 seasons. He's well on pace to do that again this year. He's a threat similar to like Harrison Smith or Josh Metellus, where he can play all over the place and he'll make plays wherever he is. He's going to be another part of the passing game, primarily that's going to give Sammy and Justin and Jordan fits, or attempt to at least. All right, let's jump into the injury report really quick. We talked about Oliver. He's out this week. There's like a wrist or an ankle injury or something that popped up, or both popped up from last week's game. He didn't practice all week, so he's not playing. The Bears will be missing one of their starting tackles, Bates. He's out from the concussion. They've got another tackle, a backup guy, Mega. I was pronouncing it last night and I got it wrong, or got it right then. Mega. I'm not going to try again, but it's just lesser depth in the offensive line they're going to have because of it. They're also missing a safety, Eric Hicks. He seems he's out as well, so just another part of the defense. Just lacking a little less depth through anywhere on the field. It's good for the Vikings. It just, especially since we've only really got the one injury designation for sure that I know of. The Vikings also waived Caleb Evans. Caleb Evans. He was primarily special teams. It does open up now that we'll get linebacker I was mentioning the last 2 weeks, and now I'm like, I didn't write his name down, and it's totally blanking on me. So yeah, Evans gone, but Oliver seems like the only niche on the Vikings injury front this week. So, but get well soon, Oliver. We're looking forward to seeing you again. All right, betting wise, money line Vikings are going off at -185. Tennessee at +155. Tennessee, Chicago at +155. I'd take the Vikings. Obviously, you take the Vikings every week. Well, yeah, but they're winning most weeks. So if I bet on the Vikings every week so far, I'd be up for the year. I could understand betting on Chicago, +155. Make a little bit of money. They're playing at home. They're not bad. They're definitely not bad. They've got a solid defense overall. They can make things happen on offense. So Vikings favored by 3.5. I'm going to take the under on that. I'm going to take the spread on the other side of the ball. So I would be taking the Bears +3.5. I think it's going to come down to a last score game. Whoever scores last, and it's going to be like one team's up by 1 or 2, and the other team kicks a field goal, and then time runs out shortly thereafter. Something like that. Hopefully, I'm thinking that the Vikings will be on the right side of that. Over under 39.5. The money bets are 83% on the over last I checked. I'm going the under. I think both teams have defenses that are solid enough they're going to limit points again. So we can see like last week where it was 36 point total. It could be something like that. Like it could be closer, like 20-17. That's or it could be 17-14 or something like that. So yeah, low scoring game. Vikings take it. I think it's going to be close. But it's a game in Chicago. Weird stuff happens over it all the time. It's going to be a nail biter. It's going to come down to the end of the game. Anytime touchdown, I'm going back to Aaron Jones this week. It's the Vikings need to run the ball. They need to focus on the ground game more than usual, just to be able to stay in there and keep the ball moving, and hopefully put points on the board. And I think Aaron Jones is going to benefit and ends his month-long touchdown drought. Fantasy outlook for the week: Jefferson, Jones, absolutely start him. Hawkinson, I'm starting him. Vikings defense, I'm starting. Bears defense, I would start if you got them. If you need some help when there's 6 other teams on bye, sometimes you got to go a little deeper, a little dirtier with your defensive picks. Chicago side of the ball is the defense and DJ Moore and nothing else. Almost nothing. I mean, I could make an argument for maybe Odunze or Komet, but I don't love it because, like I said before, there's still so many wide receivers, and there's 4 different guys who are viable fantasy options and also really good football players that catch the ball. Allen, Moore, Odunze, and Komet. And so, Odunze or Komet or even Allen could, be a fantasy play this week, but I'd be willing to throw a dart at Odunze. Komet if you have like no other options for tight ends, which again, 6 teams on bye. Vikings also, Addison, sure. I mean, like I said, they've got a lot of solid defenders in the pass. Addison's good. He's not Jefferson good. Maybe he gets a benefit from Jefferson getting just weeded out by, blanket coverage or double team or whatever. And then Sam Darnold, you could throw a dart on him. I wouldn't start Caleb Williams. Not a chance. Swift, I am not starting. No, do not. I know he's been one of the guys you probably had on your team all year that you're like riding and getting good weeks out of. Don't do it this week. You might not have a choice. But if you have a choice, if you got like anybody, if you got Amir Abdullah for the Raiders, start him over Swift. So right there, I'm giving you the permission. Abdullah over Swift. All right, that's it. Done with the fantasy point. We're coming to the end of the episode. Thank you for watching. Thank you for continuing to tune in. Say hi to me over on X, Twitter, if you want to, at FFRabbitDad. It's right there at the bottom of the screen. I almost always respond to people. Twitter's an interesting beast, and yeah, come say hi if you want to. Otherwise, have fun watching the game on Sunday. Let's make it 9 for the Vikings. Skull, baby. And we'll see you guys all next week.